Let's go, Janessa.
She's here. She's just getting situated.
I know.
I am here, Terry.
I know you can hear me. That's why I said it.
Do we have a topic?
If you guys don't have one, I have a potential one.
I don't have one.
I have one. You guys probably won't like it, but I have one. We have never tackled this, but are you guys even aware that at one point in time, James Cameron, the movie director, Titanic, Aliens guy, claimed to have found Jesus's bones?
I'm not aware of that, no.
He did. He made a whole documentary on
it. Have you seen the documentary?
No, I just read articles about it, but
I wouldn't mind talking about it, but I think we would need to be able to at least see the articles or the documentary. That I would.
Okay.
I would.
I'll put it in the chat then. Maybe we can do it next week or something. I would really like Kellie. I would really like everyone here for that one.
Well, I'm not going to be here next week because next Wednesday is my birthday.
Happy birthday. Birthday. Yeah, this was back on like 2007. He said he found Jesus's tomb and discovered his bones. Crazy, right? That guy's a nut. He also went like down to the bottom of the Mariana Trench. He's trying to play Indiana Jones for real.
Hopefully he didn't find him, because if so, then it'd be a big old lie a lot of us are living.
Oh yeah, I didn't even think about that. If he did actually find it, then it puts a big hole in the gospel.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that.
Okie dokie.
All right.
Got your shiny cup.
Yes.
Alrighty. Let's get it started. Boom shakalaka.
Top of the world. Top of the world. Yeah, top of the world. Top of the world. Yeah, top of the world. Top of the world. Yeah, top of the world. Top of the world. Yeah, top of the world.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Worst Ones Podcast. This is the podcast and the safe place for us preachers' kids to come and be the absolute worst. My name is Rudy Wilson. I am a preacher's kid. We got Terry Weezy here. He's a preacher's kid. Jay Rihanna here. She's a preacher's kid. And Kellie Leezy is a preacher's kid as well, who is absent again this week. We are praying that she will be back with us next week. How's everybody doing, man? I just woke up. I don't know if you can tell. My face looks puffy on camera. Jerry Ronald, what's up with you?
I'm pretty good. Been making birthday plans.
Gotcha. Big 3-5.
Big 3-5.
There you go.
I used to, well, I'm not even gonna say used to. I do get sad around my birthday, but that's a whole nother situation. So I always try to pull myself out of it and do something, fun. So I think I got some good plans for this year. And then I also got to go see my niece and nephew's first track meet ever, which was a lot of fun. When I say auntie mode kicked in, I didn't care about none of them other kids. My nieces and nephews, all I cared about. Dawson won overall because they had like a bunch of heats. And I didn't know the track meets was all day for the children, okay?
Yeah.
Justin was there from like 1 to 8 p.m. I was there from 3 to 6. And I was like, that's all I could do. But Dawson won. first place in the 200-meter dash and second place in the 100-meter. And I think Alyssa got second place in the 400 and the 50-meter dash. And they both do the long jump, but I don't know what their scores were.
Gotcha. All right.
So, yeah, it's good to see the legacy continues because we are a track family. Hopefully somebody will pick up the shot put and discus like me. But, we're working on it. We're working on it.
Your dad was at Georgia Tech, right? I'm saying like he was like a legend at Georgia Tech for track or something, right? Yeah.
He was. He set, I think, 3 records, and he held the longest one for maybe 26 years, I believe.
Wow.
And he actually coached the guy who broke his record. One guy jumped the same height as him, and the other guy broke it, and he helped coach both of them.
Oh wow.
So.
Like he was coaching for Georgia Tech, or just just personally training them.
Just personally helping him out. My dad, I don't know if he's still alive, but like a couple of years ago, when they were doing my dad's pastor's anniversary, they actually got video. They went to his old track coach's home and did a video of him congratulating him. He had to be like 90 something a couple of years ago. So my dad's always had a really good relationship with his coach, even up until recently. And the students there, obviously. And the guys who broke his record, they're my friends too. Like, they're like my big brother. So
gotcha.
Big old happy family.
Gotcha. Did you do you mind sharing some of your birthday plans? Is that a secret?
No. I'm doing a spa day on my birthday. So I'm excited about that. Like massages, facials, foot massages, mani-pedis, all of the above. And then I'm going to go to a restaurant. I think I'm going to go to a restaurant that I really want to go to on my birthday. Thursday, have a hair appointment, considering cutting my hair. This little, I don't want to say a midlife crisis because I'm not midlife. It's just life crisis. So yeah, y'all might see a new look. I might cut it all off. I don't know. We'll see.
Gotcha.
Friday, I'm going to this really cute bar. And then Saturday, I'm doing a birthday dinner with my siblings and my cousins. So, and then in April, it's like a what is it called? Fern Bank. Fern Bank has something called Fern Bank After Dark. It's for adults only.
Yeah, I remember you telling me. Yeah.
They have an event called Booze and Botanicals. Like, why not? Y'all know I love all the plants. So I'm gonna do that in April.
You gotta really emphasize that it's Fern Bank. When you say it fast, it sounds like something else.
Fern with the F Bank. So yeah, I got little festivities, and we'll see if some other things pop off, but that's what I have planned thus far. I know, like, my parents would probably want to do dinner. I'll tell y'all later, but my mom has to have surgery, so that might, yeah.
Gotcha.
She's on the prayer list.
Gotcha. That's what's up. Sounds exciting. I remember just at one point in time in my life when I was younger thinking that people who were 35 were just so grown and so old. And now that I'm about to turn 35, I'm like, I still feel like a child.
That's the big secret. Nobody really ever grows up. They just get older. And then you look back on your parents when you were a kid and you're like, one day I'll be grown up. Like, no, they're still children.
Yeah. I remember when my parents were 35 and they seem so grown and so, now that I'm there, I'm like,
so wise.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, no, they were just idiot kids. The only difference between you and them is they had their kids when they were in their 20s.
Yeah. No facts. That's what's up, though. I'm excited for it. I hope you enjoy all the above. I'm definitely curious to see how lit Fern Bank is, especially me going there as a child and then hearing that they have this grown and sexy version of of their situation.
What the Booze and Botanicals is about.
Right.
What type of botanical?
Right.
The kind in gin. Obviously. They're growing juniper berries over there.
That's what's up. All right. Terry Wayne, what's happening?
Sorry, there was something loud going on, so I had to mute it. Just, taking care of a pregnant wife,
How is she
So-
doing?
She's doing well. The morning sickness hit a little rough, a little hard this week, so she took off work and just been, trying to treat all that. We go to the doctor tomorrow for what hopefully will be the first sonogram.
Ooh.
Yep. And then I start my new job on Sunday. So
Congratulations.
well, I had to put everything on hold when this happened. So you got to just So unfortunately, no more sandwich shop for at least a couple of years. So, but that's all right. Got the business plan. Put it off to the side. We'll come back to it later.
I'm saying, what's the new job?
I am a restaurant manager at your local Cracker Barrel.
There you go.
Hey.
Hey, they pay well and they get great benefits. So.
Yeah.
Look, I like the casserole, the breakfast casserole. My mom likes
the hash brown casserole. Yeah.
Yes.
Pretty
I like.
good.
Listen, I got a whole list of things I like from Cracker Barrel.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of fit perfectly for there because I used to own a restaurant, so obviously I can run one. But I also used to own a retail store, so it's because they're kind of both,
Yeah.
So fit in pretty easily there.
That's what's up, man. Congratulations.
Thanks. Sets my mind at ease.
That's what's up. Well, as for me, I don't have anything new coming up. Still working at Planet Fitness overnight, which is, it's a cakewalk. I actually enjoy the job. I was actually telling one of my coworkers this morning because a lot of times overnight I'm by myself, but I either see people when I first go in at night or and when I say people, meaning my coworkers, as they're getting off at night or as they're coming in the morning and I'm getting ready to get off. But I was talking to him and I was just saying, there's been a lot of jobs, almost every job I've ever had, including the military, that I've always had that dreading feeling of going to work. Like I get like that little, sick to my stomach feeling, like my stomach's turning. I'm like, God, I got to do this again.
Yeah.
And I haven't had that feeling about this job here at Planet Fitness. And the moment I do, I probably quit. I'm not gonna lie. But as long as I don't have that feeling, it's a good thing. That means I actually, enjoy being there and I don't mind being there. Like I said, it's a real chill job. I'm able to get other stuff done on the computer while I'm there. The responsibilities are easy. And it works for my current, situation. So,
well, I'm surprised you wouldn't go for your license, be a personal trainer. Your size. I know you like to exercise, so.
I'm not trying to. I'm not trying to have longevity in the fitness business like that. I just
mean because then you're working for yourself, so you can make your own schedule and your own appointments. Works with your comedy.
No, I don't want to do all that. I'm not that deep into it. And that's why I like working overnight because it's very little people who bother me about how to do an exercise or anything else. Like they just it's the same little group of old people come in. They already know what they come to do. They retire. They may speak to me a little bit, tell me I'm doing a great job. They bring me some chocolate chip cookies every week. Other than that, yeah, I don't want to be bothered like that. So, but it's real chill. Yeah, man, I can't complain though. I'm alive. I'm well. I'm healthy. Comedy's going well. So, no complaints on my end. So let's get into the topic for today. So like I was discussing in the pre-show, Janessa had kind of mentioned in a couple episodes ago when we were discussing the devil trolling God on the internet, and just how crazy just say the church and the body of Christ is out here looking in these internet streets. And she kind of mentioned how she was talking about something else, but then you said something to the degree of, well, maybe that's the purpose of this podcast, for us to et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I might have to just go find that clip and just plug it in right here. People can be reminded, because I don't remember exactly what you said. I just know I remember what stuck with me was when you said, well, maybe that's the purpose of this podcast.
But maybe that's like, honestly, another purpose for this podcast. We initially came in just kind of wanting to tell our stories, talk about whatever topics we want to talk about from our PK perspective. But maybe our bigger purpose is to kind of bridge our generation and the younger generation, and letting them know, like, we get it. We see you. You can have fun. You can talk about these things. Like the things that we didn't get growing up, like we're talking about them now. Even like I was just saying to Kelly, like, do y'all have video footage of the conferences? Right. Like, y'all might not have the video footage, but the fact that we're talking about it, like we lived through it. This is not some ancient, archaic way, once upon a time in the 1900s, there was the takeover conference at Berean Christian Church, these are things that we really experienced. And maybe that's what our bigger purpose is just to kind of bridge that gap, to have that conversation, to be that youthful voice. I don't know. And
I remember those words because though we've been doing this podcast for 3 years and we're on, just say, the 4th season, but we've completed 3 years of it. I don't know if we've ever concluded the ultimate purpose. Yeah, platform for preachers' kids, to come and be the worst, as I always say. But our narrative is also kind of shifted as we went. And so I figured, it might be a good idea to just discuss that further, the purpose of this podcast, especially to the cause of us. So we're also, just say, a platform that's on the internet that, has a level of representation, of God or the church or the body of Christ. And so what role do we play as the worst ones, or what role can we play? Or what role do you guys think we do play or should play when it comes down to either, like I kind of mentioned in the pre-show, maybe bridging a gap, or just our contribution in general as we show up here and record each week? How can we effectively not only have a podcast, but what purpose? How can we effectively serve our purpose in these internet streets? So, what are your thoughts?
Well, I have a bunch of jumbled thoughts, Rudy. If you would have told me this an hour before the show, I would have had a better presentation. But y'all gonna have to.
I was asleep an hour before the show. I didn't even know we were gonna talk about this. It came in when I woke up.
Y'all just gonna have to deal with my rambled thoughts today. So I have several thoughts. Like you said, I think the podcast started off one way, really just as a place for us, specifically the PKs, kind of have a voice or a place to express ourselves or whatever. But as we've done this the past 4 years, it's definitely expanded to more than that. Even some of our guests, that everybody's not necessarily a PK. Maybe they're just a minister's kid, or someone whose parent was super heavily involved in the church. And then also, I just think a lot of, for us, I guess, and I don't even know this. Sometimes I'd be like, are we young adults now that we're 35? Like, how are we adults? Like, what?
Just adults at this point.
You know what I'm saying? Like, do we even fit the distinction anymore? But
right.
Whatever our distinction is, we definitely are relatable in that sense. And I think we're in a particular time. We remember old school church, but we're also living in new school church. And And we kind of have an opportunity to see some of the pitfalls or some of the missteps that's kind of going on in church. You know, I think it was you, Rudy, when we were talking about the Full Gospel Conference and how they had brought Kellie's dad, Pastor Lee, to hype the kids up. You know, he's doing the same songs that he used to hype us up with, and how there isn't anybody like who has come behind him.
Mm-hmm.
We're still having to call her 60-something-year-old dad to hype up the youth.
Right.
And so I do feel like, you know, I don't know the extent, because I am definitely not Pastor Lee in any way, shape, or form. But I do think, you know, because we experienced it and it was beneficial to us, we really could, in some way, somehow, I don't have the thoughts all the way together, you know, take what we've experienced and either figure out a way to connect with the younger generation or even our own generation, because that's another thing we've talked about on this podcast. Like, a lot of us aren't going to church no more, or, you know, we're watching it online, or, you know, you've turned to the crystals and the zodiac sign. You know, it's all sorts of stuff that's going on. So I think there's definitely an opportunity for the Worst Ones podcast to bridge a gap, to, even if it's just to show the younger people a different way, even if it's just to have the conversations the church isn't having and never really has had, like they should. You know, maybe this is just throwing it out there in the future. You know, maybe we'll have live shows and it can be a whole thing. You know what I'm saying? We have like a Christian party, Christian comedy show. I don't know if that's really y'all's thing, but, you know, we'll work it out.
I can do clean material.
Yeah, if y'all can figure that out. But, you know, like we were talking about the New Year situation with Pastor Surfy and versus the other church that was doing Joyful Sister Act. You know, maybe we could be an opportunity to have clean fun. I mean, I don't know. Like, I think the possibilities are endless with it. But I'm going to shut up because, like I said, I have a lot of thoughts and they're all over the place. So I'm going to try to get some more together and let y'all go.
What you think, Terry Wayne?
I feel no responsibility to the community or Christianity at all. We started this during the pandemic when it was all locked in our houses. And I think that it's more important to the four of us than it is to, you know, the world. You know, there's a kind of like that thing in the Talmud, you know, the Jewish Bible says that, you know, if you save one person, you save the world entire. You know, famously at the end of Schindler's List is that line. And we kind of saved each other during that time, during that lockdown and this and that. And we became friends doing it, you know, and have had good times and kept each other accountable and added some structure to our life. And I think that's great. And, you know, that's not saving one person, that's saving three people. And each one of us has done that. So if anything, what we can be to this community is an example, I think. Just by, we don't get paid to do this. I don't know who's listening to it. A lot of the times we're just talking to each other sometimes. But when people do listen to it, I hope they connect with that, at least subconsciously. Like, oh, this is just a nice thing that these people are taking an hour out of their week to do. You know, and in the cynical world that we live in right now, it's nice to have something like that is beyond cynicism, that just kind of cuts through it with something that is just good for the sake of being good. And that's it. Plus, we've had a lot of great conversations and brought up a lot of things that I never would have thought about. I never thought about whether Jesus got morning wood or not, but we just kind of naturally evolved to that
That was
place.
y'all.
Yes,
Leave me out of
I
it.
understand that. Yeah, I understand that you didn't come up with it, but our conversation let it evolve to the point where I had the thought, like, yeah, did he ever eat bad fish and get food poisoning or something like that? Like, I don't know. I don't know, and I don't think anybody knows. And if I ever meet him, that's probably going to be the first question, just because my pragmatic logical mind, it's the first thing I think, like, because he's God in human form. Does that come with the burden of human form? I still think about that. And that
Yep.
was like 4 years ago, and I'm
Yep.
still thinking about it.
One of our first or second episodes, because me and Kelly was mute.
Yeah, that's an episode we should go back and revisit again, just because that's to me, if we were making a greatest hits, that's going to be your closer. That's our, that's your go-to. That's
Maybe
yeah.
we could do our greatest hits and then like do a video of us watching it together and reacting. Yeah, oh my God.
Yeah, because I mean that's Sweet Home Alabama for Leonard Skinner. You can't do a show without Freebird.
No, I got you. I feel that, Terry, and but I kind of agree with both of y'all in the sense of, first piggybacking off of Terry, like, yeah, I do think that this was helpful for us in the sense of, having conversations that we probably would have never just thought of on our own. Just even creating a platform for the four of us, or even, holding each other accountable, et cetera, et cetera. I do think all of that is true. But I do think while that is true, the question that, or the statement rather, that Janessa made, which made me come up with this topic, stood out to me so much, is because I do feel like, at some point, whatever platform you have or gift that you're given or whatever, like it ultimately becomes bigger than you. You know what I'm saying? So even if it's something that we may not live to see, like maybe these episodes just sit on YouTube till, the year 3024, you know what I'm saying? And then all of a sudden, some people dig it up and find it or whatever like that, and then it serves, some purpose then. I do feel like, I don't feel like God would create this just for it to only benefit us, especially, and that's why even with all the, the just as much of a roller coaster ride as we've been on to even continue this podcast, what makes me even want to stick with it is because I feel like it was a God ordained thing, the way it came together. Like the way that it, that it came together was so organic. Like the fact that God placed it on my heart to create a Preacher's Kids podcast and gave me the name The Worst Ones. And then literally like that same week, if not the following week, I end up on the Blame Girl podcast, which is Terry's other podcast. And I meet Terry. Never met. Me and Terry was in South Florida together that whole time. And I was way in California, by this time. And I had never met Terry. I never heard the name Terry Wayne, never met Terry. I'm sure vice versa. He never met me, never heard my name. And then we're on this podcast with this mutual comedian that we both know, his co-host, a comedian who I know, a friend of. And Terry, I use air quotes when I say just so happened to mention, but once again, God ordainedly mentioned, as he's talking about something unrelated to church, unrelated whatever, he said, and I'm a preacher's kid. And I'm like, oh wow, that I need to talk to him when this is podcast is over with. I reached out to Terry first. Mind you, I reached out to Terry first about this. The person who I knew you and Kellie my whole life. You know what I'm saying? Janessa, like, I grew up with you as my god sister, grew up with Kellie as my sister's best friend. Like, I've known y'all literally since childhood, and I literally had just met Terry virtually on a podcast, and he was the first person I reached out to. So And then, of course, then I reached out to Kellie, and then Risa, reminded me that I do have a god sister that's also a preacher's kid, who I totally forgot about, named Janessa. And so then I reached out to Janessa, and it all came together, and the dynamic works. We even had to getting past the point of you and Kellie, not wanting to talk as much at first, and it just being me and Terry, and whatever. So but just the way it all came together, even with the hiccups, and then even with all the podcasts that I created during the pandemic, this is the only one that still exists. I created like 7 podcasts, which I think all of them were genius ideas, by the way. I wish they all would have stuck around, but they didn't. This was the only one. And I even remember,
only God will last, Rudy. You don't know this. Only God will last.
And so, so to me, I'm saying all this to say, to me, like it shows me there's some purpose in it. And I first learned this kind of lesson with the college I ended up going to. I don't know if I had mentioned this on this podcast before or not, but when I went to Edward Waters, which is now University College, it was a college when I went there. But when I went there, the way that I got there was so organic. Because for one, I was screwing off in school so bad, like I barely even graduated high school. But then, so not only I was able to go to a college that accepted me, but then I was able to get a full ride, football scholarship. And I didn't even play my 11th and 12th grade year. I hadn't played since 10th grade. And this school didn't have no highlight film of me, didn't see no stats, nothing. And the coach still gave me a full scholarship. I don't have any student loans, no debts, no nothing. And this is from, I didn't do no tryout. I wasn't a walk-on. I showed up there, you know what I'm saying, with this scholarship. So,
so they just picked your name? Did you
know
the coach?
My mom learned about the school from somebody else. She called up there. The old coach had just got fired. A new coach who ended up being my coach had just got hired. She told him about me. He asked me to come on the visit. He seen me on the visit, and he offered me a scholarship.
Just like that.
Yeah. And so, but once again, I didn't do anything to deserve it or earn it. I knew that was God. You feel what I'm saying? And so even when, as time progressed and I'm a star football player now, I got my stats up, whatever like that, I considered transferring to another school, to a bigger school, to help like my, NFL, just say journey or whatever like that, as I'm chasing after that. But what made me stay was, I'm like, you know what? There's a purpose for me being at this school because of how I got here. You feel what I'm saying? I went to a school that I've never heard of before. Just like I never heard of Terry, and I met him. I went to a school I never heard of before, didn't know existed, whatever. And so the way I got there, it made me say, okay, there's a purpose for me being at this school. Let me stick it out here. I correlate that to this podcast. There's a purpose behind this podcast. Let me stick it out here. And so with the sticking it out and realizing there's purpose, that's why I say I do feel like there's more to this podcast than just what it did for us. I do think there's even more that we can even benefit from it for our own personal lives and even for the 4 of us combined. But there is a something else that I feel like we definitely could do when it comes down to just say helping the just say body of Christ agenda, even if it is, like Terry said, people benefiting from seeing, the 4 of us come together and what we do for each other, or appreciating us taking the hour, out of our time, and even us doing it for free. I mean, that's just because it just hasn't built to the fan base, where we can get paid from, because we could definitely get paid to do this podcast, like we've talked about plenty of times before. It's just a matter of growing it to that point. But I in closing, because I've definitely been talking a lot, but I do feel like there is something. I don't know exactly what it is, but I think that's why it stood out to me so much when Janessa said those words. Well, maybe that's the purpose of this podcast. Ever since you said it, that always stuck in my mind. And I was like, dang, like there is something here, especially because as much as we've all at different times been ready to throw in a towel on this podcast, we've God has allowed us to persevere through for some reason. And I think that that's not for nothing.
Hey y'all, sorry to interrupt, but we have a few church announcements. Follow us on Instagram at TheWorstOnesPK. New content coming soon. We also have a TikTok at TheWorstOnesPK. No content yet, but continue to check us out. If you want to, when you listen to our podcast, you can find us on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever you find your podcast. Just make sure you type in The Worst Ones Podcast and you'll find us. And when you get there, make sure you like, you comment, you subscribe, and you share. Thank you to our 500,422 followers. We love you so much. Now, back to the show.
It's a much less commitment to this podcast than it was to your university. You know, because you said you got it through similar ways. I feel like picking school is a much bigger decision.
I didn't pick the school. I didn't have choices. That was all I had.
Okay.
Yeah. That was all I had.
How bad was that team if that coach is just like, hey, you're a big guy. Come on, let's go. I've never seen you play, and I don't know anything about you, but come on.
Go ahead, Janessa.
No, I was gonna say I also think about, me, you, Terry, and Kelly. We're all different.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're from different backgrounds. We have different interests.
Mm-hmm.
Kind
of those things is not like the other.
It's like the thing that really does connect us is the PK, the church kind of is the thing that really connects us. But other than that, we're all very different. And I think that is also on purpose, that he brought 4 different people, because now we can relate to people can relate to 4 different personalities, for a lack of better word, because I don't know what the proper word is at this time. But, we can reach more people because someone possibly can see themselves or can relate to us, even though we're all different. And I think that's, maybe, like I said, so I've been having a lot of dreams. I'm not going to go deep into it, but I've been having a lot of dreams. Mm-hmm. I had a dream. I told one of my girlfriends, and it actually came true. And it had me shook for a long time. And so I don't know what is next for us, or what's the grand scheme of things for this podcast. I've been trying to pay attention to my dreams, but I agree with you, Rudy. I do feel like there's something else. We haven't been doing this for 4 years for nothing. Mm-hmm. I just don't believe that. And I think we just have such a unique perspective. I think we've had such a unique upbringing, that we really do have something to offer. Mm-hmm. And I just don't know exactly how it's gonna pan out. Like you said, I don't know if this is gonna be our Suits moment where 10 years later the podcast gonna pop off where we're like 50.
Right.
Well, it's funny that he said that. It's funny that Rudy was talking about, 3,000 years in the future, and and still, because nothing ever leaves the internet. I actually was talking to my wife on Monday about it, because Monday is when we do our live podcast for Blame Girl, and I said, it's almost like if something ever happened to me, my kid's now going to be able to come back, watch all those episodes, watch all these episodes, and get a sense of, who I really was. Mm-hmm. So that's nice. That's like a legacy thing. So, yeah.
I try not to think about that because I don't know what I've done said.
Well, I don't know what I've done said either, but I know that whatever I said is gonna, if you take it all together and polish it up, it'll be who I am. So
yeah. But what you were saying, Janessa, it's our Suits moment, and
yeah, I was like, I don't know if it's gonna be a Suits moment. I don't know if it's gonna be a situation where we just skyrocket next year, or whatever, and then we quit our jobs and we we rock on this. Like, I don't know what it's gonna be.
Well, that's the thing about the internet. You never know. You never know what's going to blow up. I mean, we did that Does Jesus Get, Morningwood thing like 4 years ago. And it doesn't matter. Somebody could find it now, think it's hilarious, take a clip of it, put it on TikTok, and it blows up and gets, 2 million views. Then, yeah, we're doing this for a living now. That's how quickly it happens.
So yeah, I don't know what's gonna happen, but I 100% do feel like there's more than just us shooting the breeze every Wednesday just for the kicks and giggles. Like, I think even our conversations over the years, like we've had some really serious conversations, we've had some arguments, you know what I'm saying? But we've talked about things that, like I said earlier, the church maybe doesn't really discuss or whatever. And I think in today's world, like the world isn't playing with us. Like, and so the church can't just be, handling folks with kid gloves. Like we got to really meet people where we are. And I think, of course, there is some level of tact and, just there's a level of professionalism. I can't really think today, but I think that we in our mid-30s, because we're adults,
You're not adults. I'll be 43 in 2 weeks. You're not adults, and neither am I.
Okay, Terry's our resident elder. But it as adults, because we are grown, I feel like we are in a place where we can help deliver that discussion or whatever it is in a tactful way, in a relatable way, in a way that reaches people. Because I do feel like some of these older preachers and ministers, like they're great. I love them. I understand them, but my 10-year-old niece might not understand them.
Right.
And so I don't know. I don't know what exactly going to be, but I do feel like we have more than just us shooting the breeze and arguing amongst ourselves.
Yeah.
When I say arguing amongst ourselves, I really mean me arguing with Terry. I'm
Yes.
Right. Yeah. No, I agree. And we've kind of mentioned that before, like like I said, because we like, so our generation, just say, millennials, maybe even, extended to who's before Generation X, I guess. Like, so, like we're kind of like the last wave of kids that like grew up in church. You know what I'm saying? Like everybody after us, which just say millennials are now the parents of these, current kids, and millennials aren't really going to church as they are grown, which then means their kids aren't growing up, in church.
You should talk to me because I'm technically a millennial.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
How crazy is that? I'm not. I'm Gen X, but I technically beat it by a year.
Right. Yeah, I know it's all right. Like, yeah, that's what I didn't know what the cutoff was, so that's why I kind of put Gen X in there too, because I know that before millennials was a thing. Me and Janessa was a part of Gen X, and they created millennials, and it switches up. It may be something different by the time we get 10 years old now, but our if you were just say born 80s, and was raised in either the late 80s, 90s, whatever like that, like. That wave of children who are now all grown, having kids of their own, that's the last wave of kids that were just say forced to go to church. You know what I'm saying? Like you live in his house, you going to church on Sunday. You know what I'm saying? Like and I remember even just growing up in church, like it even being a thing, like especially in Atlanta. I can't speak for just say all of the world, all of the United States, but Atlanta is like a real church going city, you know what I'm saying? So no matter whether you like drug dealers, whoever, if you going to the club the night before, whatever, it didn't matter what you did, Monday through Saturday, like people was going to church on Sunday, like just period point blank. It just was a thing. And I've been to other cities where it's not as much of a church going, just say city as Atlanta was when I was growing up. But I feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong, Janessa, but I feel like even Atlanta doesn't hold that same, just say, standard as it once did when we were growing up there. You know, even with it being such, you know, predominantly, you know, we go to church type of town or city. So, so I do think even using the term bridging the gap, like it's something that we should definitely pray about, if you will, like just figuring out exactly how can we bridge that gap, or how can we serve a purpose with this podcast in reference to either introducing people, you know, kids to God, or helping them just say see a different route about, you know, going about it, because that foundation is definitely important. Like no matter what any of us got going on in our lives right now, like we all have that foundation. We all have something to go back to that was instilled in us as a child, and that's mainly because train up a child in the way they should go, and when they grow, they won't depart from it. So whatever you get in, you know, in that training as you're growing up, like you won't depart from it. Your actions may seem like you've departed, you know what I'm saying, but it'll always be in your heart. It'll always be in, you know, in your foundation, and it'll always be something that if for whatever reason you need to go back to it, you know where to go back to, as opposed to kids today, they're going to go back to something totally different. You feel what I'm saying? And it's because that bridge has a gap, as opposed to have been, you know, gapped. And I do feel like I said, it's something that we can definitely, you know, pray about as a group, as individuals, like to see like exactly what role can we play specifically. I know we have an idea of different things that we might can do, but just like, you know, what exactly is that? And I do think that we should even, you know, be a little bit go back into talking to other, you know, bringing other PKs on, because I do think that there is still something to that, like, you know, having this platform for PKs to be able to share their experiences, whether they're, even if we can find some, you know, current PKs that are younger than us that are currently living that life and what that looks like in this new generation of PKs versus, you know, those of us that are our age that grew up in the same time as us, and you know what their experience is, and just, you know, even just kind of creating that understanding of, even if you're not a PK, but balancing, just say wanting to live for God, or, you know, be the best person that you can, or whatever like that, but you're also facing your own fleshly desires or your own demons or whatever it is that you want to call them. You know what I'm saying? Because we all are humans at the end of the day. We all have our own perspectives, but we all still have a level of wanting to please God with our lives. You know what I'm saying? So, to some degree. And so I think it's finding how do we help at least have a platform to have that conversation for just say God to work his magic, if you will, and you know, and help us in that way, or we even have solutions that can help, or whatever the case may be. But I think it's definitely something in there, because once again, I don't think that we've been doing this for, I know y'all keep saying 4 years. We're embarking on the 4th year now. We've completed 3, but we're in the 4th season, episode.
I call it what I want to call it. How about that?
And you know, and I like I said, I definitely think it's something there. And even just how this podcast has evolved, now having Janessa's jewels, and you know, and we prayed, you know, together on this podcast. We
about to have Kellie's prayers.
You know what I'm saying? But we pray together on this podcast with blunt and liquor in hand, all that. You know what I'm saying? We've you know, the regardless of what it's ever looked like, the foundation has always been there. You know what I'm saying? The foundation has always been there. And I think even the evolution of the episodes, and even as they continue to evolve, I think will be important for people to go back to episode 1 and then watch it all the way through and binge it or whatever, and even just see, you know, just say what God has done thus far, and then wherever we ultimately end at, like how it will, you know, even be beneficial then. So it's definitely something there. I think it's just something we should pray about and see exactly specifically, what our assignment is with this podcast. So that's all I got.
We got a jewel.
I do have a jewel today.
All right.
Oh, back on up. So as per norm, my jewels come from my life experiences, and this week is no different. I think last week I told y'all I had planted the seeds for the garden because I had this bright idea to grow everything from seeds.
Mm-hmm.
And I was kind of behind schedule. I should have planted them weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, it's okay though. We're going to make it do what it do. And if they don't grow, then I'll just go to Lowe's and get some. So I planted the seeds, watered them, and they weren't really growing. And I was getting a little discouraged. And so it hit me. I don't know why I was acting silly, but I have like 3 grow lights. And I was like, well, let me use my grow light. And so I put the grow light on it, and like within 24 hours, I had all the seeds were sprouting. And then like within 48 hours, like they was just growing like wildfire. And even on the package, because I had to go back and look, they were saying they would germinate 7 to 10 days. And here we are at day 5, and it's like shooting up. And I was just like, oh man, like I felt like I was making up lost times. Like I told y'all, I should have planted them weeks ago. So I was like, oh man, this is awesome. Like, yes.
Right.
And I literally heard a very still small voice saying, the conditions of your environment determine your growth.
Oh, right now.
And it was like, what environment are you in? And I was like, oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. And so I started thinking about it. And I was like, what environments am I in that is conductive for growth? And typically when I hear those conversations, it's typically the Lord telling me like something I need to work on. And I'm not saying he didn't, but in this instance, I was just kind of reflecting and I was able to reflect and see that I have grown and I have moved myself into environments where I have been able to grow. And, I need to continue to put myself in environments where I can grow. And it was just so profound. I always say with gardening, like, I feel like I get the best God lessons when gardening because I'm thinking about the plants and just the harvest and all this stuff. But literally in this planting of seeds, God was telling me, like, what do you need to do to put yourself in the best environment so that you can grow? So I just want to share with everybody, like, take a second, think about your situation. Are you in the best environment for you to grow? Are you being watered? Do you have enough sun? Do you have the right situation? That might be the reason why, you're not seeing the progress that you want to see. And I don't know, like, I'm really excited about this gardening season because, like I said, this is like day 5 for me, and the Lord has spoken so clearly. And so, yeah, are you in the right conditions to grow?
Wow.
With you, be in.
Wow. No, that's proud. That was a word right there. Now,
it hit me hard.
That's a preach word, as they say.
I'll send y'all a picture in the group chat so you can see what I'm saying. Because when you see it, you're gonna be like, "Wait a minute."
You sent it already, or you saying you're gonna send it?
I'm gonna send it.
Oh, okay, gotcha. I was already looking. I'm like, I want to see this testimony with my eyes.
Oh, actually, I never even thought to mention this to her, but I got a hydroponic grow kit, Janessa.
Ooh.
For Christmas. My sister got it for me. It wasn't expensive because I had to look it up because I wanted to know. No, I will. But I wanted to grow herbs in it. Dude, the amount of fresh basil that I have grown in my bedroom is bananas. It's already grown up tall enough where it's touching the grow light. And so I have to trim it almost 2 times a week just to keep it down. And I can't make stuff fast enough to use it. Sometimes I just have to either freeze it or throw it away. But yeah, that thing worked amazingly well. So I will send you the link.
Thank you, Rudy. I sent it in the group chat so you can see it.
Take this thing out. Oh, I don't think it ain't came through yet. Okay.
Oh yeah.
It takes some things. All right, let's see if it comes through by the time we done with the IG handles. Oh, there it is. Okay, let's see that thing.
Oh my gosh, you didn't have to show the people. Yeah, like it was nothing, and then it was all of that.
What a change the environment to do for you.
Yeah, grow lights are nice.
Yeah, I'm excited. And actually, it's more than that now, but I have to get another picture because it's been growing like wildfire.
Wow. Yeah, that's powerful. That doggone environment. Lord have mercy. All right. Princess Kells 51. You can request to follow her. She is private. Probably will not get through, but that is Kellie's Instagram handle at Princess Kells, the number 51.
Definitely won't get through.
You can find me at jrihanna_. We have fun over there, especially with my birthday weekend. I'm gonna be posting all the stuff. So yeah.
It's also my birthday in 11 days, but I'm at the age where we don't celebrate it anymore. So not quite as happy. But it's at Terry Wynn Comedy on all social media platforms. You'll definitely get through there. And buy my book, Unclaimed Ashes, on Amazon. I need your money.
At Risa_G, RHESA_G. Shout out to her. We appreciate all of her help. And that's it from us, man. We love and appreciate you guys. And Terry, I know you said you wasn't sure about as far as the viewership. So right now, we used to only have, especially on YouTube, maybe like 2 to 3, maybe 4 views on the videos. Now we have anywhere between. So the least we'll ever have is like 8 or 9, but then it seems like it alternates. Like sometimes we'll have 8 or 9, and then sometimes we'll have like 30.
Oh wow!
Yeah. So I'm not sure what determines how many people watch it each week, but sometimes we have like 30. Sometimes we have like 8 or 9.
I wonder who these.
Sometimes we have 500.
Your mom.
Yeah. So definitely my mom and Reese are definitely always watching, but I don't know. I don't know who the other 28 people are, but we thank God for y'all. So appreciate y'all for supporting us. Pray for us. Help us to find our purpose so that we can bridge these gaps or do what it is we need to do out here in these internet streets. But we are the worst ones, man. We out.
Top of the world. Top of the world. Yeah, top of the world. Top of the world. Yeah, top of the world. Top of the world. Yeah, top of the world.